All right, and we are back. Retro Myrtle Beach guy. This thing on. And we're about to tackle what may be the most controversial subject we've ever discussed on this channel. Something that tore apart generations. Something that people dispute to this day. A very controversial movie from 1994 about a young quarry worker and his struggle with his new family and friends to deal with finances and adoption. That's right, the Flintstones Movie. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this, honestly. I had no idea that we were so torn as a generation about this. This may be a bigger rift generationally than cell phones and social media. Some feckless cowards on the interwebs have IMDb 5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes 23%. So personally, I'm wondering how what is probably one of my favorite movies of all time can be treated so terribly by this generation. I don't understand what the hang-up is. Maybe you don't like John Goodman, one of our greatest living actors.
My father hated every day of his life. He lived to the ripe old age of 38.
Rick Moranis. This was like his last big role before he just vanished from Hollywood forever. Maybe you don't like Rosie O'Donnell pre-Koosh Balls? Come on.
I'm here with the Spice Girls teaching them how to fling the Koosh Balls.
Excellent.
Aren't they fun?
Pre-Koosh Balls, she was still riding high on A League of Their Own. No one had a problem with Rosie O'Donnell pre-Koosh Balls, all right? It was the Koosh Balls that did it, I guess. I don't know. So obviously, as a aficionado of the Flintstones, I mean, opening weekend, Memorial Day weekend, when this thing dropped, I was at the movie theater. When did it come out? 94. I was 11 years old. I had the little Fred Flintstone bowling action figure. We had the little, horn glasses from Rock Donald's.
Fellow lodge members, introducing one of extraordinary appeal, the Grand Puma Supersized Meal at Rock Donald's.
4 uniquely chiseled bedrock mugs.
These will look great with my bone china.
The classic glassware. I had the Flintstones Movie lunchbox that looked like Fred's lunchbox at the quarry. I just didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought we all loved this movie. Halle Berry before Catwoman.
My secretary?
Personal secretary, Mr. Flintstone.
Literally, everyone was untouched by this. This was a flawless movie. Kyle MacLachlan, Mr. Twin Peaks. One of the last great roles of the immortal Elizabeth Taylor herself.
While you're out carousing with a bunch of Neanderthals.
Oh, really? Well, for your information, the lodge no longer accepts Neanderthals.
I mean, and her exchange with Fred, so good.
I've got my hands full just being ashamed of him.
You got your hands full when you scratch your neck.
Elizabeth Perkins, everyone's favorite redhead.
Before I met you, I was in Little League.
Insane to me that this wasn't more popular. The B-52s were in that movie. So, off the bat, the first thing that you know about this movie, or that you'll notice about this flick, is the sets and the props. And you know, it's always such a shame that they just tear these sets down right afterwards. Because could you imagine being able to take the Universal tour and go through Bedrock like that? How all the cars still set up and everything? My goodness. One day, One day I want to hire like one of these guys to do the mini golf courses. I want to build us a buffalo lodge here that looks like that, like big old stone buffalo lodge. Join today. I mean, they built bedrock. This isn't the kind of thing that they do anymore, and kind of after this, they stopped doing it. People claim that it was Popeye that was the death of these giant, things, but yeah, the Popeye movie came out in 1980. This is 1994. You had whole streets, whole quarries set up, and a lot of the dinosaurs, it was still puppetry. You weren't dealing with CGI everything like you'd have these days. It wasn't green screen everything. It was very lived in, this world. It felt real. Absolutely bonkers. So the opening sequence, incredible. One of the best opening sequences ever. The casting, besides John Goodman.
Hey, Bon, you like your steak rare? Yeah. That one's yours.
John Goodman, very famously, didn't do a Fred Flintstone impression. He didn't have a Fred Flintstone impression lined up. He went and he did Jackie Gleason.
Oh, you're starting right in, huh? Starting right in with the insults. No warming up in a bullpen or nothing, huh? Starting right in. I remember when you used to come over, you used to start slow with a couple of hello stupids and stuff like that.
What's that old fossil doing here? The tar pit's back up again? I got half of mine.
Oh, don't flatter yourself.
That's it! Where's my club, Wilma?
He did the Honeymooners Jackie Gleason impression on the spot, hired. So, that said, obviously the Flintstones is a huge ripoff of the Honeymooners. Everyone knows that. But, perfect audition, perfect casting for Fred. Even some people were like, I don't know about Rosie. I think Rosie, the voice, did it for me. That was 100%. The voice did Betty for me. She was Betty. The giggle, that's all it took, right? But the small parts too, Mr. Slate. The guy who pulls the bird at the opening when the steam whistle bird. It looked like a live-action version of that guy. Mr. Slate looked like a live-action version of Mr. Slate. Brilliant casting, brilliant costuming, just really an amazing setup. Now, one of the critiques of this movie, it's all due to the confused nature of the Flintstones. There's far too many people who think the Flintstones, and I'll say this is Hanna-Barbera in the 80s, this is kind of their fault. Too many people think the Flintstones is a children's cartoon. Have you watched the Flintstones?
Sweetheart, was there any mail for me today?
No, just a phone call.
Oh, who from?
Some girl.
Some girl?
Her measurements are 45, 23, 34.
That's some girl, all right.
There are episodes where the guys have to hide the fact that they're judges in a bikini contest so their wives don't find out. They used to sell cigarettes and beer on ads on the Flintstones.
Let's take a Winston break. One bush coming right up.
There's nothing children's show about this. It's about a dude who works in a quarry, go out for lodge night and stuff like that. There's nothing, I don't understand where the concept that it's a kid's show came from to begin with. Fred makes a joke at one point that his crane is knocked up again because he forgot to lock it up one night. Like, that is not a joke for a kid's movie, but it's dang funny for an adult movie. Just happens to be about a caveman. So yeah, sure. As a kid's movie, I guess I could see 5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it as an 11-year-old. I saw it multiple times in the theaters, and I bought every piece of merchandise and swag I can ever since. So I liked it as a kid, but as an adult movie, as a regular grown-up, if you were going to say this is a movie about a guy who works in a quarry and you've never heard of the Flintstones ever before, and you just put this on, I would say this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. Even as a super fan, as an actual loyal order of the Water Buffaloes myself, it's always the super fans who should get the maddest, right? Who are like, oh no, this didn't quite live up to what my expectations. This exceeded my expectations. I did not expect this to be any good. I did not expect to have a revival fandom of the Flintstones in, my 11th year. One of the critiques that people would give is they talk about embezzlement, and all these adult issues, sleeping with the secretary.
So feel free to use me.
It's an interesting movie, but I don't know. I don't think it's a kid's movie. If you watch it as an adult, this is a very adult-themed movie. It just happens to take place in Bedrock. I mean, what's the confusion there? He hates his mother-in-law. He likes going bowling.
Okay, Brother Flintstone, we need a strike to win. Can you do it?
Hey, is the earth flat?
He's a lodge brother. Absolutely incredible. I don't understand what all the hate is for this movie. For me, it's the same thing with the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Who's this Koopa clown? We gotta talk to that goofball now.
I love the Super Mario Brothers movie. The live action, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. What is up with these rating systems? If this is any other movie from 1994, I probably couldn't even tell you another movie from 1994. Movies from 1994. All right, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Forrest Gump, Speed, Ed Wood, The Crow. Okay, so 1994, Clerks. 1994 had some movies. Lion King. I know the Flintstones. I know that I've seen it like 1 billion times, and every time it's on television, every time it's streaming, I'll take a moment and watch it. It's on Netflix again right now, and I'm going through again. I can't always say the same about Viva Rock Vegas, but whatever. But anyhow, if I told you that there were no other movies that came out in 1994, you probably believe me. Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction. All right, I should have thought this through before I started that. And as far as puppetry goes, the Dino puppet was really, really good. Obviously you get the classic scene, Fred gets home from work and Dino attacks him, licking his face. But a lot of times, I'll call you out here, Super Mario Brothers, the movie. Your Yoshi was that was a creepy looking Yoshi. The Goombas were creepy looking. Taking something from the cartoon world and putting it into a real life live action scenario, it can come off wrong many times. This was done very well. That Dino is lovable, not weird looking at all. I had to say that even with the bolsterous yelling and all the Jackie Gleason-esque, behavior out of Fred, this movie also gives us a side of Fred we haven't seen before. I mean, we've seen him sneak around behind his wife. We've seen him hide money and bad business decisions from Wilma before.
I gave it to Barney. Wilma, without that money, they wouldn't be allowed to adopt a baby.
But this time it was for a sincerely good reason. He wanted to help his neighbors, the Rubbles, adopt a baby. Again, this is such a good movie. Like, there shouldn't be so many tear-jerking emotional moments in a Flintstones movie. I'm telling you. It's like The Notebook or something. Just happens to be in the caveman times. Curly Sue, maybe.
I also bought a new bowling ball.
And yeah, man, I gotta say, as a new dad, all the bonding scenes with Bam Bam.
I'm your dada.
It really meant something to me. And lodge night with the boys at the bowling alley. Again, it should not be this emotional of a movie. It's the Flintstones, right? 5 out of 10. No wonder Hollywood has abandoned you. We see old Twinkle Toes in action. And I will say, if I were to have one critique about this entire movie, any critique at all, which is it's sparse, it would be the lodge hats. Sorry. Yeah, I strongly prefer Water Buffalo Blue. The construction is nice, but that's just not a lodge hat, fellas. It's sweet that the Flintstones try to include, a little bit of what they understand of the lodge in their TV show and their cartoons and their movies. It's sweet. Maybe one of the animators might have, had an uncle who was a lodge member and tried his best to remember what he could. They get most of it right. They tried. What can I say? So then basically the rest of it is how Barney's trying to pay back Fred, so he switches his aptitude test. Fred gets chosen to be executive. And the slimy executives start manipulating the regular working man and trying to basically get him to pay for everything that he wants in his life without having to do any of the work.
I have a vision.
And did I mention increasing our profit margin fourfold?
Maybe one of the most realistic movies of all time. So Fred gets entrapped in this whole embezzlement scheme that he doesn't know about because, frankly, Fred can't read. He's doing his best, guys. Fred gets a big head, screws up his friendship. Yada, yada, yada. We've all seen this, right? I'm not gonna tell you how the whole movie goes. But really, I just don't understand. I don't understand how anyone can not think this is a great movie. Maybe when you were 5 or 6 and you went to go see it, you hadn't watched the Flintstones in a long time, you only watched the Flintstones Kids or whatever that other show was where Pebbles and Bam Bam were like in high school. They kind of lost me at that point. I could see going to this and being like, I'm not really sure what I'm seeing, I don't get this, I'm a 6-year-old, what is embezzlement? Things like that. But literally, as an adult, as a grown man, seriously, if you'd never heard of the Flintstones and someone took you to see this and we're like, this is just a crazy movie that you should check out, I mean, it's gotta be 9.5 out of 10, 10 out of 10. This is one of the best movies of the 90s right here. So I would advise you all to not remember what you thought of this movie when you were 6 and you went and saw it. Think about you as an adult now, going to see a movie with no expectations necessarily about what you're going to see. Watch it again, and please revisit Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb and return some semblance of justice to this broken world. Dear God, do things need to be worse? Just go help the Flintstones movie out, guys. Goodness, there are kids out there who won't go and see this. They just won't even try it out. It's on Netflix right now. They'll go right past it. They'll go, oh well, Rotten Tomatoes says it's terrible. No wonder Hollywood stopped trying. That's my call to action for this episode. I guess, go and re-vote, recast your vote here for the Flintstones. You gotta do better than this. You gotta do better for the cast, man. John Goodman deserves better than this, man. Rick Moranis, I'm not really sure about. But John Goodman deserves better than this.